because he knew to put the date on it the other day.
I know. I just wanted to do that.
First thing he did.
Cool. Okay.
Hey, good evening. We'll call the Town of Rochester Town Board March audit meeting to order. Stand for the pledge of the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do the roll.
Councilman Coleman.
Here.
Councilwoman Dingell.
Here.
Councilwoman Allen. Here. Councilwoman Smeesa. Here. Supervisor Reed.
Here. Town board accepts the agenda as prepared by the town supervisor. We are going to add a brief executive session to talk about the settlement agreement, so about litigation.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I need to ask for a motion. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll say.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, the first is the scoring of the RFSB. The return for sealed bids. We received two. The way I have a spreadsheet set up to enter in 5 scores for the categories for the sheets that I sent you. We normally do this anonymously, so if you guys want to write them down, if you've got them on your computers and hand them to me, I normally we have it on paper format, so, but if you've got them on your computers, and then we'll tabulate the scores for each one. Before we do that though, because we've only received 2 sealed bids, we have an alternative in our RFSB that if we receive 3, we may evaluate them using a simple comparative analysis of the elements and price instead of the best value. What I want to see is how people felt about that. Nothing stops us from still doing the best value. Once we do the best value, we can then still hold meetings with each of the bidders who provided them and decide from there. The scoring is simply to do an initial ranking and then decide from there where we go. That's the purpose of the best value. So how does the board feel? Do you want to use the scoring system even though we have 2, or do we want to just do an alternative of a head-to-head?
So I just want to say before we get started on doing the bids, I want to make a motion that we reject these till we can speak to the employees of all the departments involved with it. I feel like we missed that when we went and wrote the RFSB to see exactly what the COE, the code enforcement office, and then the clerk's office needed. So I think that we should reject them until we can schedule a staff meeting with those departments to make sure that this is what we're looking for, what they need for it to be functioning for everyone involved with it.
Okay, do I have a second for that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, so for discussion, this was originally asked for by the code enforcement office. We originally put it out with an architect to build it or to design it. We rejected those prices because they were too pricey. Or as I believed everybody was still on the same page with what we were pursuing.
I think there's a disconnect between the departments involved and with us and with our decision making on this. So I would be more comfortable if we kind of almost not a full reset, but took our original bid and our request for sealed bids and went back and had a meeting with the departments. that
We're
were
gonna have to
involved with
then
it
reject
the
these
project.
and start the process.
Yeah, that's why I made a motion to reject
Okay,
for it, which I'm open to other ideas or thoughts.
I think the soliciting information from the people using it seems useful, but I would say that like maybe we can put some kind of a time frame on it, like say like, okay, we're gonna, if over the next month. I think we should be very thoughtful about making it an organized project with a timeline so that we can move forward and they're not, because I'm assuming they want something, but.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I'm not in disagreement that like that this obviously needs to happen and should happen, but I just think that it needs to go through the right steps of planning with the rest of the departments, like as they are now, they'd be starting in the next month or two and nothing's been plotted or discussed with any of the departments or anything with the property here, or to my knowledge, or with the food pantry about what that means to have an active construction site and everything.
So maybe a couple of us can like work on what it would look like to solicit that information in a coordinated way.
Yeah, and I'm happy to do, like me and Aaron are already gonna be scheduling staff
Okay.
meeting. I'm not to volunteer, Aaron, I haven't asked for this, but I'm happy to also try to help coordinate this meeting to make sure we get everything in the request for this, so that we get it right. I don't want us to spend as much money, get it wrong and have it not actually be functional for what you think.
And I'm happy to help.
can I ask why
Ways
you
to-
think it's not functional, Bruce?
No, I just want to make sure and confirm with the other, like, I don't know that this has gotten circulated to the clerk or to the bids to the, I know we're the ones who make the final decision, but to screen them and find out if this amount of space, the idea that we have for what and who is using this is all cohesive to make all the departments run effective.
Okay, well, originally 3,000 square feet was asked for. We cut it down to 2,000 because of the price. I mean, we have a motion in a second. If you want, I'll call the question, but
To me, I think, I mean, it's not an insignificant cost. I think both of the proposals were reasonable. The costs were very similar. So I think like we had the right RFP or whatever we're calling it, SP that went out. It seems like a lot for a building that's solely dedicated to record storage. You know, if it's going to be a permanent building, you know, if we don't have records in the future, 10 years down the road, we're still in a permanent building. Like maybe we want to include this as part of a larger discussion about a larger project that we do in storage.
that's fine. It was, you know, it was because of an ask originally that we went down this road.
Yeah.
And the prices that came back then, we rejected because they were over $1 million. I believe these are much more reasonable.
Oh, I think that, yeah, they're
No, I
reasonable
don't-
for the size building.
Yeah, I don't think that these bids are unreasonable in any way. I just think like for things like placement, things like that are on there, like I only saw one placement in the bids when I suggested the back corner for an option also where the concrete needs to be cleaned up also. So just things like that, I think it would be better for placement for exactly who's using it and for what uses. That it's all clear before this project actually starts and fully gets, until we agree for when we sign a contract. We need that done before that we talk about it.
Okay. Well, a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor?
I,
I'm gonna be a nay. You can let me know what you want to do.
We'll work on
Yeah.
scheduling that.
Okay.
I will notify the two vendors that they were happy. And we'll go from there. Next is the Community Preservation Plan Committee. We had asked that each person come back with a name tonight. I did speak with Ted Fink and shared with him the natural resources inventory and the various documents that have been accepted as town documents. He's anxious to get started. That was the purpose of us choosing to name people rather than go out for soliciting, candidates and holding interviews, because that would extend the process probably until May, and we need to have whatever the language of the referendum is to the Board of Elections, approved by us by the beginning of August in order to be on the November. So, yes.
I have a question. My person asked if the committee is, if the determinations are binding, and I read the legislation you sent, and it reads like it is, but I don't want to go to the wrong direction.
So binding is, ultimately, it's a recommendation to the town board for the language of. So in terms of binding, I'm not sure I totally know how to answer that question. Ultimately, it's our vote whether to move it forward or not.
They make a recommendation.
They make
to
a
us that we
recommendation
vote
to
on.
us that we
Okay.
then vote on. And then we establish a local law. What they are doing, and it's the part that we, as town board members, to my understanding, are not allowed to be involved in, is they review the properties of the town. And they establish, with the assistance of the consultant, a scoring system to score the properties in the town as to, importance is the wrong word, but basically the significance, properties that are determined that for whatever reason, whether it be environmental, historical, that they be identified as being something the town would consider either purchasing or purchasing development rights to.
Okay.
So it's a universal scoring system that they work through the properties of the town with. Whether it's agricultural, the one thing that cannot be included is housing. They also will make a recommendation to us of what the percentage of the tax should be. We could do
They
up to 2%.
decide.
They will make a recommendation. Ultimately, we decide as the voting body. But then the taxpayers decide with the referendum vote. We put a proposal on the ballot, and then the taxpayers vote yes or no. So that's why it's hard to answer the binding.
No, that's very helpful. That makes sense.
So the taxpayers ultimately decide if this should happen or not.
Right.
And the what is on the ballot is up to us with recommendation and guidance from that group.
Mhm.
And he recommended, I think I did circulate Red Hooks, which did have more than 5 people. He recommended, though, that 5 people is a good working number because in a short-term situation, trying to get a large number of people together. So, so with that, does everybody, I have a name, and I'm assuming you
don't have,
you don't.
I'm gonna request it at the way, but
Okay.
you guys can talk about names. Yeah, I've actually struggled with this just because.
Okay,
I feel like
do
we
have a
want-
person who's interested who reached out to me, but I already have. a
Okay,
name.
I was gonna say, because I think it's important that we have good balance of people, and so, maybe we can keep mine in reserve and mea culpa for.
Does the board
I did
want to
think that.
name the other 4 tonight? Do we want to just defer this to
And
next
how do
week's
we
meeting?
know if it's a good balance? Like, I would think that would be nice. to-
That is,
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, once we say the names, we would be adopting a resolution to appoint those people, so we could certainly discuss it more. The only reason I did this is because of the
Yeah.
month-long
Yeah, that's
process.
kind of-
No, I
Yeah.
It's a squish timeline.
Yeah, and we've done this before.
Yeah, I think it's the right way to do it.
Yeah,
Should we maybe name in our, add to our executive session, a discussion on it so that it's not technical appointments with their names?
The
Is that
discussion
allowed?
of appointments of particular persons.
yeah, we could do that in
And then
executive
we
session.
can next week actually appoint them so that we all know and what balance we have beforehand.
We can do that. We can do that.
I'm not letting go of my name.
Excellent, yeah.
I'm not letting, but then so we know, like my person's like a
We can do that, and we can,
would.
as
but-
long as we all
Someone
are
else
sort of committed to approving it next Thursday, and then I can get them to him and he can move forward with it.
Yeah, we should
He's
get-
doing the background GIS work now with all the maps and the data and everything. And he is I will be bringing next week a resolution to apply for the grant. He is assisting me with that application. He has put them together before. So that's for the Hudson Valley Greenway, who in all likelihood will fund the payment to the consultant. So, and that application is due in May. So I will be bringing that to you next week, asking for the authority to. And he's gonna have something to me before next week with that.
So should we do the executive session change at the end or?
Well, we could do it whenever, because there's only, the zoning map discussion. What I just wanted to put out to you, and I can show you, I went through the list. And I wanted to just confirm that you all agree to this. So the properties that are owned by either New York State, Palisades Interstate Park Commission, which is primarily Minnewaska. The properties that are owned by Mohonk, OSI, and there was one other land preservation agency that I can't remember who it was now. It wasn't run out of Silkus Land Conservancy because they don't own properties. Anyway, what I'm asking for the board's permission to make all those PL10. You know,
Do the other.
and then, so then my plan is at our April workshop meeting to go through the list of the remaining list, the parcels that we didn't do the other day, which was a significant number that we did, plus the 180 to 100, excuse me, that are, if we just agree as a blanket, all those parcels become PL10. None of them were questioned. None of them appear to be an issue. If the board's in agreement with that, what that does is just continues to narrow our list down of properties to talk. So really, that's all I'm asking for. I can email it to you so you can see it. I just want to essentially, in a paperwork placeholder, to get the board's okay to do that. So, yeah, we don't need a resolution or anything. I just want to see, just to simplify the process.
I'm fine with that as a blanket, just
Okay.
keep the.
I'm definitely fine with it. I also think you could just not do, you could only do those as PL10 and revisit it later on. You know, just because people didn't respond to the letter. I'm concerned, you know, we saw people that weren't aware their parcel had changed.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it would be helpful to look at the PL10 against the R5, because it may very well be that R5 is protected enough in terms of use.
And that's fine, yeah.
Yeah, but I think what you're saying is definitely appropriate, but if we look at it and we're like, this is getting complicated.
Well, let's look at that next,
Yeah.
or not next, the Thursday workshop meeting.
And
And
miss that meeting, by the way?
because there was a group of like R1, A3 in the Store Road area that people were in favor of. So I don't think we want to just do a blanket.
Oh, the
Anything
R1, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I'm
so,
talking about PL.
yeah. But what I'm trying to do is make that list smaller and smaller and smaller, so we have only a few to actually look at.
Yeah, okay.
Can we just state back, so at the April workshop, we're gonna look at we'll keep,
We'll continue on the map.
yeah, but we're gonna keep everything that is the already protected lands in PL10. And then what were you suggesting that we do?
That we leave the rest of the R5 that converted over as. we
But you
leave
wanted
everything
to
else alone.
compare the use tables.
Oh, I wanted to look at R5 compared to PL10, because the properties themselves may restrict development. And if they're R5 or R10, just because they're R5 with 15 acres doesn't mean they can do
Because we also have,
three parcels on.
we also have to look at the AR3s that we were making R5
Yeah.
in a couple areas and review those,
Right.
because some of those were ones that people questioned as well.
Okay.
And there are others that are probably private protections that are, you know, there's a lot that are listed as private forest,
That are already.
which I would have to confirm with the assessor. I don't know, you know, the land designation for land use is private forest.
Yeah, we made that mistake.
They're not all
They're not
in
all.
conservation.
You made that mistake.
Yeah, so I think we need to, so what I've included now is only the ones that I've identified as the owner is either those four things I mentioned, and I will find what the fifth ones, I don't remember the fifth. But, that will chip away at a considerable number of parcels. And when I send you the sheet, all those properties are highlighted in green. And you'll be able
Okay.
to see which, I'll send you a little key as to what the color codes mean.
I am really gonna miss that meeting, so.
That's okay.
Found out yesterday.
But if you, when I send it, if you have any real strong thoughts, let me know.
I definitely have to get you the notes.
Okay. Yeah, I have the list of SBLs that we identified from the meetings, but if you have any additional.
I have mine too, the ones that we.
When I send you that list, the ones that spoke to us are in yellow. And so you can look and see if there's any that are not currently on the list that should be.
Okay.
With that, I just wanted to see if anybody had any feedback on these two local laws. I did speak with the assessor on both, and that was the first time home buyer exemption and the residential commercial exemption. He did tell me the county currently has the first time home buyer exemption, and he said nobody in Rochester is taking advantage of the county. And by saying taking advantage, meaning that nobody has applied and is using it. I also think part of that reason is it's not widely publicized.
Yeah.
So I
It's
think,
confusing too, like at times, like if it's like, I know a lot of like people in my generation, their parents co-signed for them for their houses, so like. if they could still
Yeah.
Apply.
and there is household
Their house
income
years
levels things. It's not every first time home buyer would be able to get it. But he did say I've sent both to ask him to look at. He did say at face value, he doesn't see any issues with either one at face value. He wants to look at them. And both of these were ones the county planning housing coalition recommends that municipalities consider. So there's not any urgency. This would go into effect for next year's tax rolls. So I just didn't want it to fall off.
I mean, I'm for it. It helps promote housing. It's in the same way that a lot of even our federal governments have like first-time home buyer credits to try to boost housing stock and things. So I'm happy to keep workshopping it and to hear after our assessor actually does do a deep dive on it and see what Mary Lou thinks also.
There's no downside to it because even if only 5 or 10 people get it, it's still 5 or 10 people getting an exemption that they can get.
Yeah, I think we should even go one step farther and like try and encourage people to get.
Oh, yeah.
I think that.
No, we'll
Like,
advertise.
that's something we can have the housing committee do, like,
Yeah,
they,
like,
once
if
we put
it's
it in effect,
intimidating.
they like wanna be able to do like open houses where they can talk and teach people.
Yeah, answer
their,
these
like, their
questions.
Grants to apply for, to like help, like do workshops like that, so I think that's something that's right up their alley.
And the
Like,
residential
people, like,
commercial,
learn-
I'm sorry.
That makes sense.
The residential commercial one is one where it's a like business downstairs, apartment upstairs kind of thing. Not as prevalent in our town, but certainly potentially a new person might want to build something, say on 209 or something in a business district where they put an apartment above. I mean, we have had instances of it. The liquor store in Kerhonkson is a prime example. They built a residence above and a store down below.
For these, I'm just curious, might be like beginning level whack Aaron off the table. But the star exemption is really popular. And that one, if there's some exemption, that's a state level one. There's some exemptions that you can't get.
That's full tax only. is the
Okay,
star.
but like people could do the star and this and the county one? They could do all of them?
Yes, because the county one it's against, there's 3 taxing agencies.
Right.
There's the school, there's the town, and there's the county. And then there's also special districts within. So if you apply the board that oversees that jurisdiction has to put it into
Right.
place.
Okay.
So if we do it and the school doesn't, then that exemption is only on town taxes. If the county does it, it's only on, and nobody else does, it's only on county taxes.
So star is only, yeah, I just
Star
thought I
is only
remembered,
school tax.
yeah, I thought I remembered that there was something that if you did it, you couldn't get the star exemption. So I just was making sure that we weren't. I don't know.
No, but it's a good example of how confusing it is.
There's income limits on all these.
There is
In the
something.
application.
Okay. Yeah, we do too. But I remember there was something. Anyway, I just,
Pretty much everybody, as long as it's your primary
Yeah, yeah.
residence,
Yeah.
everybody pretty much that I'm aware of gets a star. And then there's an enhanced star. If, once you're a senior, you get an enhanced.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, reach out to the,
Like
reach out to the
$600.
assessor.
Thought you were gonna say we have to stop now.
No, the assessor. File the exemption.
I will.
I went 2 or 2 years of owning my house before I knew about it too, so I can commiserate.
Shows up right on time every year.
You either get a check or you get a discount on your school tax bill, one or the other.
Yeah, let's get people this money.
Yeah.
Which is possible.
So, but that's essentially, the state makes it available to the municipalities or to the agencies to adopt. And there's different, there's maximum income limits, and then you can adapt from there. The one I copied for the first-time homebuyer, what is Ulster County's that they adopted. And I pretty much copied it word for word, just inserting town of Rochester instead of Ulster County. Okay, so with that, I have a motion to go into executive session, and once we come out of executive session, we likely are only going to pay the bills, so we will end the video stream at this time.
I'll make that
Do we have to
motion.
say what?
Oh, we have to say what it.
For purpose of discussion and litigation.
And discussion
Oh,
of the
and
appointment
discussion
of
of-
particular.
For the community preservation plan.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain. Okay.